Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm alone, so I have to keep time, a microphone, and slides, so please be patient. Thank you. First of all, may I just understand, in the room, how many are librarians? Okay. And how many publishers? Okay, interesting. We are outnumbered. Okay, very well. In any case, I want to thank you all for being here today. There was a session just before ours on the same topic, essentially, on equity, global equity in the open access transition. And I think the focus there was on a certain set of aspects around equity. But I think it's an extremely complex principle, and our industry of scholarly publishing, our endeavor of scholarly publishing is extremely complex. And so we will dig into other aspects around equity in this talk. Yes, okay. So I have today a panel of librarians who have experience in working with what are called transformative agreements, read and publish agreements. So agreements with publishers that enable open access publishing without author fees. And we'll hear more about their perspectives, but please let me introduce them to you. I have Deepali Kubarkar, head of the Department of Library Science at Tata Memorial Hospital, the Department of Atomic Energy in India. Huan Chen, the Deputy University Librarian of Xiamen University Libraries, and Wing Wu, Head of Resource Discovery and Management Cluster at the Hong Kong Baptist University. So thank you very much for joining me. And I'm Colleen Campbell from the Open Access 2020 initiative, which is based out of the Max Planck Digital Library in Germany. I think I'll stand. I will start with just a brief, a few slides to ground our discussion, and then we will go into the panel. So first, I wanted to just begin with the perspective that the global open access transition is happening all around the world. It is, as the keynote speaker mentioned today, Joy, a collective effort of individual research communities around the world. And I would want us to all start from the same perspective on scholarly publishing. What you see here is a graph illustrating the total article output across the past 20 years or so. And you can see by the color coding in gray are articles that were published behind a paywall, so not accessible freely. In particular, if you notice the top two lines, the orange and the yellow, those are, the top is gold open access, and the bit in yellow is hybrid open access, so fees. And it gives you an interesting view of how dynamic the open access publishing market is, how much it has grown, and focusing in particular on the yellow line, which is hybrid, of course, but some of that are transformative agreements as well. Now, to dig into that a little bit further, transformative agreements, here you have a visualization of article growth, open access article growth through transformative agreements by libraries and library consortia from many countries around the world who are contributing to strong growth in open access and alleviating authors of open access publishing fees because their libraries are taking care of the fees for them. So really enormous growth and a wide variety of countries. Now here is where the real notion around equity comes into play. And the discussion from the previous panel talked about the challenges of equity and how the open access transition is a moment to consider how we can enable greater equity, reduce barriers for authors in scholarly publishing. But I would challenge that the problem of equity begins further in the past with the paywall subscription system. In fact, if you look at publishing, this is an analysis done by a consultation in the United States. You can see here in this column, we are around 50% of article output is published open access today. So in the past 20 years, we have made some progress. However, publisher revenues, still 80% of publisher revenues are still coming from the paywall subscription system, which shows me that actually open access publishing, gold open access publishing, is more cost effective for the research community globally. It's less expensive. And I would argue through open access negotiations, we have new levers to inject greater equity. Of course, we all have to recognize that we're starting from different starting points. We heard in the previous panel that in Europe we have national level mandates such as Plan S. We have examples of open access, yes, in Latin America, across the world, but we all come from different starting points. From the subscription system, we come from different investment levels. What a library pays in Germany for subscriptions might have been very different from what a library in India pays for subscriptions, or in Hong Kong, or in China. So starting from those different starting points, we move into open access negotiations, and what we're seeing is these negotiations are happening in many countries around the world. You see in orange, the parts this is article output of these countries, just as a sampling. What is in gray is still behind a paywall, subscriptions. What is orange, the peach color, is open access enabled through a transformative agreement, and what is gold is fully open access publishing. So we see that in many countries, there is a strong, fully open access tradition or strategy, and now, thanks to transformative agreements, we are reducing paywalls further. And now we can get into a bit of the discussion, but I wanted to highlight is that here you have the final bits of the final statement of the most recent Berlin Open Access Conference, where through this transition, with libraries negotiating open access, using their investments in scholarly publishing as a lever, they are beginning to dig deeper into scholarly publishing itself, which enables them to set the principles that they would like international publishers to follow in their processes of scholarly publishing. So it's an opportunity for libraries to influence the publishing market itself, proposing CC/BY, securing greater transparency around the funding flows and the expectations for quality of research and publishing ethics, for example, and equity and the sense of fair contributions for the publishing services received by their authors. So those are high-level principles, and then we have the librarians themselves, through their negotiations and through implementation, they are putting all of these concepts into practice, or trying to put them into practice, and doing so collaboratively through the OA 2020 community. So that's my brief introduction, so we're all on the same page in terms of where we are globally. And now into the actual discussion. So I've brought together these panelists, and we have a few themes we'd like to talk about. So first of all, moving from subscriptions, paywalls, to open access publishing. I wanted to ask, you all work in countries without strong national mandates for immediate open access. Now, in that context, what made you decide to try negotiating for open access with a publisher? And what were the first concrete steps that you took to actually start to move things? May I start with you, Deepali, where you have the onos, which is subscriptions, and yet you are negotiating open access. What brought you to that? Try again? Yeah.
I completely agree. Yes, India do not have currently a strong official national open access mandate. And yes, from publishers, we have heard a lot about making any large-scale change would be very difficult, risky, and it is going to be uncertain. Though still we made it a point to give it a try. I come from Department of Atomic Energy. We have always been a forefront in trying something new. We were first in India to start a consortium. We wanted to learn what exactly we could do for our own researchers. Also, what we noticed was we have been publishing a lot, and we have noticed still there is access-related issues, worry related to APCs. Our systems were been failing for our researchers. So knowing that the subscriptions prices are going up, APC charges are going up, we had to do something. So we thought we should collectively come together and find out what best we could do for our own researchers. So the first step, what we decided was to consider having a collective negotiation. In Department of Atomic Energy, we have around 60 plus odd units who have been subscribing to resources. So we tried to centralize those data first. We tried to see what we have been subscribing to. Are there any duplications which have been happening? What are our researchers being paying for APC, and where exactly are these people publishing their articles? So certain such data centralized, we started gathering. Having this data with us, we thought of, rather than negotiating in one voice, rather than negotiating in 60 different voices. So the first step was having a collective information system. So we decided to form one DA, one subscription in 2024. During that period, even at a national level, one nation, one subscription talks were been going on. And as you might have heard our previous speaker, there is a mammoth of work which has to be done when you have to do something at a national level. But if we would have been waited for a national mandate or national initiative to come, probably this inequity would have further deepened. So we decided to move ahead and start with this consortium. So currently, when our users were been getting an access to only certain few articles, we negotiated with top 3 publishers where we identified we have been publishing more as well as we are accessing more. We decided to negotiate with them. To our surprise, publishers, as I already mentioned, didn't came forward to us, but we successfully negotiated with 2 publishers, top leading publisher, and DAE became the India's first public funded institution to sign a transformative agreement in India. So we couldn't wait for a national policy to come or a mandate to come. We decided, because there was an pressure from the practice. Our clinicians are being, say, for example, in TMH, we are producing a lot in cancer research, but our researchers were being still worried about APCs. So this didn't came from an ideology, but it came from an operational end, the practice. So our systems were been failing, and we wanted to do something for our researchers. Before we ask our publishers to change, we decided collectively, let's have an information system. So we decided, and having this all information, we successfully managed to have these 2 transformative agreements. And our users are quite happy with that.
Thank you. Yeah, so really underscoring the need for an understanding of your publishing behavior, also what journals are relevant for your authors. Wonderful, thank you. Juan, would you like to add anything to that for yourself? What is it that brings you to an interest in transformative agreements?
Yeah, because in China, maybe the information gap did exist. for our research, for local sales in China, maybe they don't have a deep understanding of their publishers' global open access policy, regional transition activity, and even they don't know their implementation details of other regions. So sometimes they will told us, oh, for mainland China, for our publisher, we don't have too much plan, open access plan for mainland China. But in fact, we know there are many activities abroad. So that's the first information gap. So we would like to fill in. And so the second will be the library, from the library. Because we are not so sure, we don't have a comprehensive investigation to the attitude from our researchers, whether they are willing to make a transform, to enhance their publication influence abroad. So, but in our library, many researchers told us they are willing to negotiate with us, with publishers, because the APC is too high, they are hard to burden this. So that's the intention. We like to move on for the transformative agreements. And thirdly, I think with the development of the global consortia in Europe and both North America and even in Hong Kong, in South Korea, Japan, and even in India. So we should take some activity in mainland China to be involved in this global open access transition. So sometimes the publisher, the answer will be a little sharp. Yeah, I guess they are, the local sales are not intentionally to tell the line, to tell us there isn't any plan for us. But I think that's not their problem, because they don't have enough information, so they couldn't provide effective solution for the mainland China to solve this problem. So that's why I would like to be involved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so in Hong Kong, our consortium is called JULAC, J-U-L-A-C, which is the 8 government-funded university librarian. They formed this JULAC, and then next year we'll be celebrating our 60th anniversary. So we have been collaborating for the 60 years. So, one of the strategic directions set by the JULAC is also to support scholarly communication. And we've bbeen paying the subscription every year and increase every year, while our faculty members do it for free, right? They do it with, send to the publisher, writing their article, but no any free or free labor. So I guess this is something we need to change. So that's why, JULAC, we are very committed to support scholarly communication, also through, entering the TA. And my personal experience is, I need to talk back to 2018 when I attended the Taiwan Concert Conference. At that time, Colleen was there presenting the idea of what the Max Planck Library is doing about how to do the transformative, flipping the subscription to support publishing. I was very amazing on that talk. And at that time, do you remember, the former Chinese university librarian, Louise Jones, was also there. So after your presentation, I told Louise, we better also look into, this trend. So this is how, we get to there to be committed with this, yeah.
Thank you. So, I think that one of the key here to talk about equity or talk about fairness in the terms and conditions that libraries are able to secure with publishers it really has to do with transparency, right? Before we can tackle the problems of inequitable conditions, we need to be able to see them. And in the subscription system, we don't have that transparency. We don't know what one country pays, what one library pays and another, et cetera. So I would like to understand, in negotiating your agreements, what information did you need most from publishers or potentially for yourselves in order to understand whether the fees that you were asked to pay were something that you could consider fair? Yeah, any thoughts on that? Yeah, would you like to start, Wing? Go ahead. Do you want to start?
Oh, okay. I think, of course, we all know, how much we pay for the subscription. So when we start doing the TA negotiation, oftentimes our first question is to ask, please give me the output of our Hong Kong office, so we can, based on those data, to make the data-driven decision. And of course, oftentimes, the publisher would get back to us, okay, you have these subscription costs, and then your author previously also paid the APC at this cost, and then they will just simply add together. So this is, of course, not only one publisher, right? Many publishers do this. So this kind of things is not transparent. We need to do a lot of verification. Oftentimes, the data sent to us is not clean. We also need to do the checking one by one. And thanks for ESAC registry. That's also another useful way for us to look at what other countries are doing. So I think, yeah, no matter, we have done over 15 TA already, but every time to start the negotiation, a lot of preparation and checking we have to do to ensure that the price is fair, and also try to also learn from what others are doing. Yeah.
Tipali, anything to add around that transparency and fairness?
I would say probably if you would have got to know what are the global per article pricing, and if they are been comparable across the countries, it would have definitely changed our negotiation, our position in the negotiation. It would have rebalanced our power to know what others have been paying and what fairly whether we are being provided. Secondly, it would have also helped us in policy making, given said that as we are currently our budgets are only fixed with subscription, what we have been subscribing. Had we get to know what are the APCs others have been paying, and we could have planned accordingly, we could have budgeted our systems accordingly. It would have also given us an idea of what exactly is going to be fair for me. It would have changed my perception as well, and our policies could be changed accordingly. Currently, what we have been doing is whatever historical spending we have been doing, we wanted to stay cost neutral. Again, we are coming from a public funded institution where our budgets change only after 3 financial years. So we are already been fixed what is going to be subscribed or what allocations are being done for the library for next 3 years. So we wanted to stay very cost neutral, but we also wanted to know whether are we paying fair. Had we been got this global per article pricing, probably the cost would have been slightly less. Maybe India is not publishing to that extent what we are been paying currently for the subscriptions. So our policies could have been had a different way rather than what we are been publishing, which institutions are been publishing. There are institutional diversities as well. So it would have helped in forming and policy for us. So currently we wanted to stay just cost neutral, and we tried to use the same historical. But had we got this kind of information, it would have definitely made a change.
Okay. Thank you. Juan, anything to add?
I'm quite agree with Deepa's opinion, just cost neutral. So we like them to release their revenue composition, their cost structure, and even the reasonable profit margin. And the second one we like, the transparent and differentiate APC pricing system. And the third one we like, they have some waiver policy for researchers from different countries with different income, income rate, and also They are from different discipline, and also they are in different career stage. So we like to this information. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. I'm going to put in a plug, if I may, really quickly, not planned. OA 2020, the initiative that I coordinate, we are actually embarking on a study. We hope to invite publishers from around the world to contribute data to this study. We would like to visualize in an anonymized and country-level way how the relationship between the investments of a given country in publishing and the article output, to begin to have some conversations around differential pricing. So that, publishers in the room, please stay tuned. We will be coming to you asking for you to contribute data to this effort. Okay, so we're in this transition. We talk about transformative agreements. It's not so much flipping journals. It's actually reworking how libraries and institutions support authors. And so we're moving from a system where in the past we would pay to give access to reading to a system where the libraries will cover the cost of open access publishing services. Ultimately, scholarly communication is part of the research process, and therefore authors should be supported in that process, just like they are supported to attend an academic conference or with lab equipment. So in that respect, if libraries are empowered to support authors in scholarly publishing, how do you manage that transition of moving away from the legacy paying to read to a new, future-oriented framework of paying for scholarly publishing services? And that could be not only in your international journals, but potentially also your own diamond journals and beyond. How do you work through that transition? Have you started thinking about that yourself in your own consortia, in your own communities? Because what you used to pay might be different from what you will invest in the future. How are you working through that? Who shall we start with? Juan, do you want to start?
Yeah. That's a new challenge we will facing. Yeah, for a subscription model, maybe will be based on the FTE, yeah, maybe based on the field ranking, and maybe based on the usage. But for the read and publish model, I think there should be a transition period. So for the reading part, we can maintain the original model. So, but for the publishing part, they will be tied to their publications. Yeah, and for the read and publish plan, if they have article limits, maybe the token or the quantity should be tied with their publishing sharing. So if we have unlimited agreements, maybe that will be more easier for us, right? That's my opinion. Right. Yeah, that should be a long time. Maybe we should make some transition period.
Sure, and I know that many library consortia in the US and Europe do have uncapped agreements. So it begs the question, why not all countries, right?
Yeah.
Wing, how about yourself?
Publisher friend, please,
yes.
Unlimited APC. I think the transition, getting different stakeholders buy-in is very important. The stakeholder is, of course, our university senior, that they support the library being, transforming from a paid subscription to supporting the publishing. And also faculty member, we also need their support too. So we have another research support team in the library. They did a lot of promotion in promoting to faculty member. So I think there's still a way to go, but I see it quite positively in JULEC and also in my institution. So like in my institution, We have our first TA back in 2021, and it's been 5 years. And so far, we have already more than 600 articles flipped to open access because of the TA or S2O cover. So I do see, quite positively, this transition will be keep going on. And also about the cost, I think one thing, thank you for our university librarian in promoting this to the senior. We will soon be able to, except waiting for the last step, right? Our library materials budget will be renamed to library materials and publishing budget. So in that case, we have the flexibility in managing our library materials budget to really, flip to doing more and more support on the publishing. So this is a great advancement. And also, for my acquisitions colleague in monitoring the spending, it would make their life much easier. Right now, they need to really keep into two track of looking at their budget. But hopefully next year, our life should be easier.
Great. Deepali, anything to add?
Yeah, I could completely agree renaming the budget, but the budget remains the same for us in India. That doesn't change much. Historically, whatever, as I mentioned, for at least for next 3 financial years, our budgets have been more or less already been informed to Ministry of Expenditure. What happens over here is now any project when we say it has been successful, we'll get to know it takes at least 2 or 3 years. We started in 2024, and soon we started to know once we moved from this paying to read to paying to publish. We could see the stark difference because what used to happen, there are various institutes within the DA, wherein there could be a smaller unit which was been accessing to a lot many resources, was subscribing to lot many resources, hence the subscription cost was high. However, they're publishing very less. In compared to, there is a research intensive unit like a BARC, Atomic Research Center. They are reading to a specific small nuclear energy related area where the number of journals are less, hence the subscription cost is less, but they are producing a lot of research. So here within the consortia itself, I could see there is not a parity. One institution has been publishing more, however, comparatively, has a less number of share, wherein one unit is though having a higher share, but they have to pay more, but they are publishing less. So this disparity within the institution consortium is also something what we have to see. So I see it is not just a financial change; it has to be a governance change as well, and eventually probably this is a very good idea I could pick up from her, and probably in next 2-3 years we'll be able to do this transition. But currently we have to go with the historical spending, whatever they are being paying previously, we have to keep continuing the same.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Very well. So we've heard the pricing, and right now through these agreements we're getting an understanding of the pricing that is being offered in different countries and seeing how inequitable that is, legacy based on the old subscription spend. Are there other ways that you feel you are not treated in a way that is equitable by publishers? Maybe the publishers offer certain conditions in certain countries, but they don't offer them in other countries. And why would that be if we are all part of this global scholarly publishing system? Any thoughts on this lack of equity and what must change? Any thoughts on that? Deepali, how about yourself?
Yes, very true. There are OA models which are being offered to differently with different countries, what we have observed. The one thing what we do not get, there is a bundle secrecy. Many a times some of the publishers are not ready to let us know what are going to be the APC charges within the bundle because it has been packed along with the subscriptions and along with the APCs. There are certain publishers who do offer and clearly state, but it should come with all. Also, we do not understand, in general, Asia is fast growing in publications, so there has to be, our growth should not be financially penalized that way. It should be supported. Our growth should be supported accordingly. What we also observed was, as we are moving in this transition, it becomes very hard to explain to my researcher when it is an capped agreement, why we as a country has to go through this capped agreement when Western countries are completely moving towards uncapped agreements wherein they are allowed to publish without any volume limit, and their financials can be reconciled at the end at the actual cost of the publications. I completely agree. There could be, as a capacity for a particular country, I could understand there could be some reasonability. But having known the global pricing, it is very difficult for me to inform my seniors or the researchers. So, since we are in public funded, we have to justify why we are not being provided, or why we have to ration it. And the most difficult part is to let us know, our researchers, that if you publish in the month of January, you can pay, we can get an APC, but by the end of the year, if you come towards, say, October or November, there is no APC. So it becomes very difficult. So we think there should be, we do not want to, not all contracts could be similar to for all countries, but there could be some price-sensitive contracts for certain areas where Asia is continuously growing in publishing. So our success should not be penalized and we should be supported, is what I feel.
Indeed, thank you. Yeah.
I think the lack of mandate is something make the publisher think, oh, okay, this can be set in a lower priority, where the Europe and the US or North America, they have the mandate, so they need to really work with them first. So, I mean, although I sound very positive, but I do see that there's transparency is still very important. And at the same time, I also believe it's not one size fits all. So I don't mind to have some different variation on the models. And there are so many models evolving, right? Read and publish, publish and read, and subscribe to open. And not even talking about the open access of ebooks, right? The book publishing fee. So I think there are a lot of things changing, and we librarians, we really need to, keep ourselves being open, like attending this kind of conference to keep to know more of what others are doing and what are the new development in this field. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I think publishers should change if they would like not just this transition activity to be taken in Europe or just in North America, but also in Asia. What they should change, the first one is they should make this information more transparent about the transformative agreements. And the second one, they should treat it as a publishing service, not an add-on product of subscription contents. Yeah, so they should invest on their high quality and also the platform and optimize their workflow. And also they should do some reliable metadata transitions, do some reports. Also they should do some tailored localization service, especially for the mainland China, to meet the requirements from the government, from the funds. Yeah, that's my suggestion for publishers in the room.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. We have a few minutes left for a question or two from the audience. Thoughts on, I have one at the back. Come to you.
Thank you, Colleen. My name's Fiona. I'm from University of New South Wales, but actually I would like to ask this question from the perspective of IFLA. And it's a discussion that is happening all the time in the international community about, we hear the issues about the complexity for publishers, for researchers, and for librarians, and we all want to make the process of publishing simpler, more transparent, and more fair and equitable. So a provocation. with all of this complexity, the change of relationships that we have with researchers, with librarians, do you think it is possible in the future, for example, uncapped agreements, these sorts of discussions, we might actually be going back to a subscription by another name?
Anyone want to take that?
Yeah, I agree to what you say. Probably, as she has also mentioned, probably we may not only rename the budget and the kind of work what we have been doing. Probably there was only annual subscriptions what we have been doing. Now it would be a continuous process of supporting the researchers in a different way. So the role of libraries would definitely change in over the period, and that is soon going to happen. I hope I answered you.
Any other? One question, I think I saw one at the back. Yeah, go ahead.
Just in this discussion, what the three terms I faced: transformative agreement, read and publish model, and one new term you have used, library, resource and publishing things. This is a very good concept you are giving, library resource and publishing thing. But just I want to say that India has just recently tended towards the one nation, one subscription. I have a good budget in my library. I was decided why it should not be used by our academic community. If I have a budget, it should be used by the academic community. I have to pay APC for the good articles. Then I decided what criteria I should select to pay the APC for the particular scholar. They are publishing in n number of journals. For which journals I have to pay how much APC? What criteria you are making? Whether you are making any criteria regarding this? Suppose that I have decided to pay the APC to our research scholars, our academic community. What criteria it should be evolved to pay the APC?
I know in some JULAC libraries, they do have one faculty can only pay, can support them 1 or 2 APC per year. And there's also other ideas do we also want to see the journal impact factor and only fund those that will publish in some so-called high journal factor journals. But for librarians, it's very hard to monitor. So, but I do know that some other library may take this kind of measure in deciding whether to support that APC. Yeah, I am not sure others.
Yeah, I would like to add here, when we started with this transformative agreement, we wanted to support everything. Why it has to be discriminated? This is how we started. Since 2 publishers what we selected were already amongst the top scientific publications. We those started, and as I mentioned, now we have, in coming year, the moment the authors have realized that they can publish without an APC, which has been taken care of, all of a sudden there was a slight surge in those 2 publishers' publications. Not more, but there was still slight surge. And whatever we have already negotiated with them, it was with a thought of last 3 years trajectory where we could land. But now, today we have come to a position in the month of October itself, all of those are been gone. Now, as on today, we are standing here now, probably I'll have to ration it and I may have to come up with some certain policy. But if you'll ask me personally, as a librarian, I would want to allow all the publications should come. Eventually, we should come in a position that we would be just paying for publishing and not for accessing. Eventually, the global trend should move in that way. We don't have to make any subscription, not even in a national mandate like ONOS. We just have to make pay for the publishing APCs. So the pricing should be only for publishing APCs. So according to me, as a librarian, I would want to allow all of those.
Thank you. Anything? Final thought?
Yeah, in our library, we will use the first come, first serve plan. But we are taking this balance between different stage, I mean, a career stage, maybe we should support the early stage researchers first, and also we should focus their quality, just like Q1 articles should be, could be supported first, take them as the first priority. Yeah, maybe, I think it's quite it's a comprehensive, yeah.
Thank you. So really, what I've gathered here is also, it has to do with the institutional strategy. I think this is one of the key points that has arisen here. You work with the authors, the research office, the administration, potentially your governments, depending on the case. What is the strategy for research in your country? And then based on that, the stakeholders come together to determine where it is they want to invest and how they can best support their authors, what works best in the country. But I think the power of the librarians here is using their investments as levers and being part of this transition together with their communities. I am sorry we are out of time, but I thank my panel for sharing their experiences, and I hope you've enjoyed this session.